Yo and hello everybody, Mike here, baseball collector. Today I'm doing a video at my office because my brain was really grinding on the lockout and what it might mean for the baseball card world, the hobby itself. And let's do a couple things. Let me define what's going on. A lot of you have heard about it, but it's official now, so it's not just hoping that they would come up with a solution on the 11th hour to avoid this, but now we are in a lockout. What is a lockout? Well, everybody's probably heard of a strike before. Well, a strike is a strike is when labor initiates the work stoppage versus a lockout where management initiates a work stoppage. So you've got the owners locking out the players. No activities can happen. No free agents can be signed. Players can't go to the facilities. There's literally like a lock on the door kind of thing, hence lockout. What can happen, the winter meetings will probably still happen because that's a minor league event really, and the major league owners just kind of tag along. You probably will still have the Rule 5 draft. Hall of Fame voting will still happen. That has nothing to do with Major League Baseball and everything, and it's over the collective bargaining agreement. The CBA is what I'll say about that. And the CBA is where both sides, Major League Baseball and the Players Association, agree on how to run the business, how revenue is shared, how the season looks, rules, all kinds of stuff is negotiated in part of this CBA. So the things that are kind of crawls in the owners have had it pretty well. The players are wanting, in the last CBA, and the players are wanting a little more piece of the pie. And so we'll kind of see. First of all, a lockout is not good for anybody. Like the sooner this is over, the better for baseball, obviously. What does it do, though, to the sports card market, particularly the baseball market? It's not going to affect basketball and football cards because they're still playing. Hockey, it won't matter, but nothing ever matters in hockey. But so what will this do? And I think that for now, right now we're in the off season, which is usually a very slow period for baseball cards anyway. There's not a whole lot of product releases, and those that are kind of afterthoughts, we have this 3-month period where it's kind of dead's not the right word, but certainly reduced activity, which is always, by the way, a good time to be going and buying baseball cards. Traditionally, the last couple of years that's been less so just because of the fever within the hobby. But will prices be affected by a prolonged lockout? The answer is I don't know. Anybody tells you they know, they really don't know. Nobody knows. But here are some different scenarios that could play out to make this interesting. Obviously, the best case scenario is they get it worked out within a couple of weeks, at least, if not sooner, and things go back to, yep, season's happening, all of this stuff. Then I think it would have literally zero effect. It would, I think there would be a frenzy of free agent signings, just like there were right before the lockout. You saw these teams signing players just to get it in, because that can't happen during this work stoppage. So I think you'll see that, but I don't think you'll see a lot of changes within the sports card hobby, the baseball card hobby. Again, I need to clarify. But what else could happen? Well, you could have a prolonged stoppage, maybe even into January, late January. That's not good. I think people have a very low tolerance overall for millionaires fighting with billionaires. And the common person is going to be like, this is stupid. And I think I'm like, can't you guys work this out? This seems like something that should be able to work out for the greater good. I think that about a lot of things in America, but this particular thing doesn't make any sense to me. I'm like, just feels like we could, tanking and whatever other issues. I can't remember them off the top of my head. I may remember them as we go along. I've read articles about what their disagreements are, and they all seem relatively easy to iron out. I'm sure it's much more complicated than I'm alluding to, but so get to January, you could see people maybe not wanting to buy current players as much, or speculating or prospecting, because you really don't know how long it's going to go. So I think if you have a traditional, February release for Series 1, there'll be certainly some fervor over that, but I don't know if it'll be as crazy as last few years, and people being less inclined to, buy the hottest rookies because they may not get to play, and that would be a tremendous risk. So that's kind of scenario number 2. Scenario number 3 is the work stoppage goes well, and it invades the season, however that looks, delaying opening day, or I think Major League Baseball and the players really want to avoid that at all costs, because they've just had 2 seasons of kind of unusual circumstances. 60-game season in 2020, 2021, they didn't even have spring training. They had, summer camp and spring camp, or whatever they called it, where it was like a 3-week abbreviated spring training. That's not ideal, and I don't think they want to do that again. But it absolutely could happen. So if it goes into the season, then I think you'll see the baseball card collectors and participants in the hobby really start to rebel. I think you'd see bitterness. I mean, I lived through 94. I collected through 94. I was a baseball fan through the 94 strike. And it had an impression on me. It made me kind of pissed at them. I don't know if that's right or wrong. I really don't. But that's how I felt. And I think there will be people, younger people especially, that will be bitter. And that will cause them to, not want to not buy baseball cards for however long, whatever needs to happen. So that wouldn't be good long term for or at least not long term. Long term, the hobby's going to be fine. Short term, I should say, that's probably more accurate. The hobby will feel that, and it'll matter. So where does that leave us? Well, I think no matter what, it's never bad to own vintage. Like the players of yesteryear can't strike or be locked out or whatever. Their accomplishments are in the books, and that's a done deal. We've got this Sunday, you've got Veterans Committee announcements on Hall of Fame. I think that's going to create some excitement around vintage. You're going to have Hall of Fame announcement in January 20th. That'll create excitement about those players and that process. Again, I think that's a separate and distinct thing from the 2022 regular season. Those are 2 different things, I think, and have different although I'm a fan of both. You can be a fan of both. If those things are still happening, that still can generate some excitement and create a demand for those players' cards that are being talked about, being elected, et cetera, et cetera. So that's a good thing for vintage, and can kind of keep that going. And again, the vintage collector, typically, not always, but they're older, kind of been there, done that. They have a long-term perspective on the hobby. They're not buying the latest, greatest players. So I don't know that it really affects that tremendously. No baseball fan wants to see this. I can promise you that. Well, I don't know. If you do want to see this, let me know. I can't imagine why you would. I want them to play ball and see great accomplishments on the field, and hopefully the Rangers can not be in last place. But that's a long rant, not even a rant, just a discussion about what's going on with this lockout and how it might affect the baseball card world. I would love down below for you to explain what your theory is, or what you think, or which direction you think it might go with the lockout, and then how it affects cards and all that stuff. Let's make this a great discussion. I'm very curious. I don't have a monopoly on good ideas. In fact, I probably don't have any good ideas, but at least I'm bringing up the point for us to talk about, let's do that down below. We'll catch you guys soon. Keep collecting.